Thank you. Good to have you with us on BBC London. On tonight's programme, thousands of hospital shifts across the capital, which should have been filled by doctors, aren't being staffed.
There's more understaffing, there's more burnout, and it's then causing worse patient care.
The NHS insists patient safety is a priority. Also coming up. New rules for dog walkers using a North London cemetery. Campaigners say the decision is unfair. Plus, sparking new conversations, why so-called chatty cabins aim to get Londoners talking as they journey over the Thames. And
I'm on hawk watch in a village under siege because of a bird just sitting up there that's been attacking men.
hello and a very warm welcome to you. First tonight, a story that might feel all too familiar. The pressures our hospitals are under, as well as winter illnesses that are still keeping admissions up at this time of the year. Today we've learnt about the difficulties the NHS in the capital has filling doctors' shifts. Thousands of shifts are going unstaffed, meaning some doctors are stretched, making up the shortfalls, while patients are seeing cancellations and stretched services. But NHS London says 90% of shifts are filled. Our correspondent Carl Mercer has more on this.
Now we know, don't we, that the NHS in London has been under a huge amount of pressure over the last year or so. Winter pressures starting early and in many cases still continuing. And today we've seen evidence from the British Medical Association, which represent doctors. It did a Freedom of Information request, which lays out just how stretched the system is. They say that over the last 6 months, more than 32,000 doctors' shifts here have been unfilled. That's around 1,230 shifts every day. The BMA says part of the problem is that pay rates for extra shifts in London are capped at a lower rate than the rest of the country.
It has a massive effect on staff morale. Doctors are already burnt out and tired, and you do these 48-hour average work weeks. You come back home and then you see a shift which is advertised for as little as £21 an hour. You aren't going to pick up these shifts, and it's a cyclical issue because then you don't pick up these shifts, there's more understaffing, there's more burnout, and it's then causing worse patient care.
Well, we spoke to the Patients Association about the BMA findings. They say staff shortages are down to more than just money.
We lost a lot of staff, of course, through Brexit and people moving back to home countries, and we don't have enough people coming through the pipeline, and training numbers equally need attention, which is why we need the workforce plan. So there isn't just a single reason for this, there are multitudes of reasons, and again that's why we need a workforce strategy and a plan for how this is going to be addressed, because without a proper planned approach across the whole of the NHS, individual wards, departments, hospitals, community services, GP surgeries, the culmination of all of those shortages won't be addressed as coherently as it needs to be.
Well, we put the findings to NHS London, who told us that patient safety was their top priority. They pointed out that across the capital, something like 90% of doctors' shifts are filled every day, and said for those that weren't, there could be a variety of reasons why. I think what is clear is that today's report points to the continuing pressures facing London's hospitals, whether that's overpay for doctors or continuing high demand. In truth, it's probably a bit of both.
Our correspondent Carl Mercer there. Thanks for joining us this Tuesday evening. Lots more to come, including this.
Some people have been hit 3 or 4 times. It does feel like a village under siege.
We're on the hunt for a Harris hawk in Hertfordshire that started to swoop on tall men. Next, a Across the capital, our many cemeteries are places of remembrance and reflection. They're also used by communities as peaceful green spaces. But in one part of northwest London, dog walkers have been told new rules have been put in place for any visits. And the news hasn't gone down well, as Matt Graveling has been finding out.
Today's walk through northwest London was a little more restricted. There's new rules for Paddington Old Cemetery, the final resting place of the man behind London's most famous bear. It's now London's dogs being put in the spotlight.
This space is very valuable to us and very valuable to dogs.
From this week, Brent Council has said no dog can run free here.
Is it a big problem having a dog on the lead?
It is, particularly if a lab, for instance, needs a certain amount of running.
The council say they've received more than 70 complaints regarding dogs defecating and urinating on graves, as well as running wild during funeral services.
74 complaints are not 74 individuals complaining. It's, we think, about 10 to 15 individuals who are actually complaining multiple times versus nearly 900 signatures we had in a petition supporting keeping off-lead walking.
Brent Council say that this rule has come into effect after a consultation, saying that other cemeteries already have it in place, adding they know that dogs are a big part of people's lives and they feel that this rule strikes a balance for dog walkers and people wanting to come and mourn in a peaceful place.
Despite the new rules, many dogs today were off lead and the call of nature proved a little too strong for some. While this owner did clear up after his animal, those in favour of the changes say other owners do not. The topic was discussed with Aaron Paul on BBC Radio London's Breakfast Show this morning.
I visit the cemetery about 3 times a week. The part where I visit, dogs are not actually permitted, but for some odd reason there's always dog bits and they try and claim it's foxes. It's not foxes, it's dogs, because the owners let their dogs run wild and they're not following them and they don't see what they're doing.
Christine and her dog Ada regularly visit Christine's great-grandfather's grave.
How would you feel if a dog fouled on that grave?
There have been suggestions that dogs do poo-poos on graves, but I am a biologist and those feces are actually from foxes.
I just caught my eye down there.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts when you look at that?
Yes, I'm afraid it is a fact dogs do. If there's been another dog or a fox has weed on a stone, a dog will do it. It's up to people to stop that happening.
So what are your thoughts then when you see something like that?
I think, oh dear, yeah, that shouldn't have happened.
The council have said a section of cemetery will be designated for off-lead walking. This group believes it to be this area and say it's far too small. They also accuse the council of wanting to remove the dogs as they believe it will help them to sell burial plots.
It's a scheme. It's money grabbing. The council is desperate for funds and in their mind, never mind the community, never mind the space, what we want is generate funds.
We put this accusation to the council, who didn't comment upon it, but did say they're committed to working with all cemetery users and will establish a Paddington Old Cemetery liaison group. Matt Graveling, BBC London.
Well, as you heard there, this has certainly got people talking, and you've also been getting in touch with us on our website with your views, so thank you for those. Some of them here. Amanda says, I know how I would feel if a dog, or indeed anything, urinated on the grave of someone I loved. Smith 1946 simply writes, it's a place to remember and reflect, not a playground or dog park. And another one here from Josie. I've walked here since 1989 when I had my first dog. My experience is that dog walkers are a pair of eyes for anything untoward. They avoid it when funerals are happening, pick up poo and rubbish and behave respectfully. Well, you can read more on that story and have your say at bbc.co.uk/London. It's coming up on your screen right now. Now let's take a look at some of the day's other news. Detectives investigating the fatal shooting of a 16-year-old in Stockwell last week have made 2 more arrests. Nathaniel Burrell died shortly after being attacked in the street. Officers say a 17-year-old boy has now been arrested on suspicion of murder and a 40-year-old woman on suspicion of assisting an offender. The renovation of Southend United Stadium has moved one step closer after a housing deal was agreed to finance the work. Southend-on-Sea Council says now that the agreement is in place, plans to refurbish Roots Hall Stadium can go ahead. And the King refreshed his first aid skills when he practiced resuscitating a dummy patient on a visit to the Royal College of Nursing in central London today. King Charles, who's previously been trained in CPR and was happy to join the demonstration. His visit was to celebrate a scheme introducing young people to the healthcare profession. Well, for patients who've spent time in a coma or intensive care, leaving hospital can often be just the start of a long road to recovery, often trying to make sense of what they've been through. A project at One London Hospital has put together a support group for those who've been in the ICU, and some of their experiences have now been turned into a play. Alice Bandukravi has the story.
Then I saw a white lie, a pure white lie.
These actors are retelling real-life experiences of people whose lives were on the brink in intensive care.
Over the last 5 years, I've been collecting different testimony from many different people, from survivors, from friends and family, partners and medical staff as well, about the experience of going into the subconscious, or going into this coma world and anything that people remembered of being in that world, and also of coming back to the surface and having a second chance at life.
The support group at St Thomas's aims to help people understand why going home can be so difficult for them.
We're aware that the critical illness episode that they go through has the potential to affect them for weeks, months, years, potentially for the rest of their lives. A patient recently said to me that he views his ICU stay as the bookmark event in his life. There was life before ICU and there's life after, and nothing will ever be the same again.
When the consciousness is affected and you're really ill, you sometimes don't remember anything about the days or weeks you've been in intensive care. So for some patients it's a complete memory blank. Other patients will have very bizarre, disturbing or vivid altered memories which aren't entirely real, which some people refer to as hallucinations, others might call dreams. They don't know why they're experiencing those still now at home in forms of flashbacks or dreams.
It's hoped that talking to other patients who've been through the same thing can help people recover from the trauma that they've been through. Alice Bandukravi, BBC London.
A Metropolitan Police officer who admitted knowingly avoiding train fares has been sacked for breaches of standards of honesty and integrity. PC Luke Goddard served in the Met but lived in Devon. Our correspondent Sean Dilley joins me now. Hi Sean, what was the panel told?
Well, it's the most tragic end to a public service career lasting nearly 25 years. The officer himself opted to give evidence because it wasn't disputed. He admitted that he travelled for free, where he wasn't entitled to, between a station in Wiltshire and Devon, despite being a Metropolitan Police officer. The panel was told that he knew that that was something that he shouldn't have been doing. It had transpired that in June last year, a supervisor, Sergeant Evans, had visited for a welfare visit because the officer had been on long-term sick. And he asked him, is the cost of a train ticket, around £34, by the way, between these two stations, a reason why you're not returning to full duty? No, he said, I only pay for the fares around half of the time. That might to some seem harmless, but essentially, as Assistant Commissioner Matt Twist had noted, that is illegal. That's fare evasion. That costs nationally around £240 million a year, according to the rail industry. And the officer had admitted effectively evading that fare for some time. Now, it should be noted he'd spent nearly 25 years serving the public, but it was no excuse, said Assistant Commissioner Twist, for misusing his warrant card, showing that to train guards so that they would use their discretion, to quote the officer Luke Goddard, the former officer now. He's now been dismissed for breaches of honesty, integrity and also discreditable conduct. There is no way that a serving police officer should behave in this way, was the message. And, you know, broadly, the wider message from the Assistant Commissioner and the Metropolitan Police to any warrant card holding officer is you shouldn't use your warrant card for personal financial gain.
OK. Sean, thanks very much indeed. Our correspondent, Sean Dilley. Thank you. Still to come before the end of the programme, if you're searching for the sun, Corsa will have the forecast for us shortly.
I'll have the latest on London Lions' ambitions to build a new world-class basketball stadium here in the capital.
Next, it's not something many of us might do on public transport, strike up a conversation with the person next to us. But that's exactly what Transport for London is encouraging people to do on their journeys over the Thames. Special cable car cabins, chatty cabins if you like, have been set up for anyone who'd like to have a chat, as Jem O'Reilly explains.
To mark its 25th anniversary, Transport for London has created chatty cabins on the cable cars at Greenwich to get Londoners talking to each other and to share their favourite things about the city. For me, chatting to strangers is my job and I love it. So not the most accurate representation of the population. So let's see what Londoners think.
It depends on the individuals. Like some people, they are sort of like quite sociable, and then we got on actually very well. We only met sort of like this morning, but some people, they're sort of like quite quiet. And you try to talk to some people, sometimes they will only give you an answer, yes or no, and then it make it more difficult to continue the conversation.
What do you think it is about London that makes people kind of feel a bit isolated, despite being so populated?
I think maybe lots of people are just so busy working, they don't have time and it's exhausting.
And I do think that you have to make an effort to be interested in each other's life.
In return for a free ride, the idea is Londoners will break the ice in the sky, which isn't always easy.
This is creating a controlled environment where, you know, it's okay to talk to somebody, and it's okay just to ask a question and have that conversation. And we hope that, you know, there's some relationships or friendships made by those conversations we've had.
While 8% of Londoners say they experience loneliness, this affects different communities disproportionately. Those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, people with disabilities, and ethnic minorities are more vulnerable to loneliness than others. And do you think you'll keep in touch after this?
I hope so. Yes, that'd be lovely. Yes, I was excited to think. I was a bit nervous about, I won't know anybody, but who am I going to be with? But I'm really excited and I'm really happy that I've met these two ladies.
The power of human connection is real. And even with nearly 9 million people in London, many of us can feel isolated. So it's hoped initiatives like this can make a little bit of difference. Jem O'Reilly, BBC London.
And you can make up your own mind. Well, from the air to your feet on the ground, or should I say court. Apparently, basketball is second only to football as the most played team sport in England. But has that potential gone untapped for too long, with Great Britain failing to compete on the world stage? Well, the capital's top club, London Lions, believes it can help change that by building a new stadium. Our sports reporter Chris Legg has the story.
The 2023-2024 Euro Cup champions, the London Lions.
Last year was quite something for London Lions. Their women became the first British side to win a European trophy. Their men, today in training for their next match on Friday, the first British men's team to reach a European semi-final. But to regularly compete with the best, the club needs to build a new stadium, believes CEO Lenz Ballon from Boston.
Our ambition is to play at the absolute elite level of basketball or European competition. There is no reason why a city as great and as global and as diverse shouldn't be playing in the absolute top European basketball division, and that is our ambition. So we need to have a venue that is large enough to facilitate the demands. So I think probably at the max it would be 20,000 seats, but definitely something 10,000 seats and above.
Great cut by Seneca, who's fouled, and count the bucket.
London Lions currently play at the 7,500 seat Copper Box, an impressive London 2012 venue, but it's a multi-sport arena and they don't own it. The players are excited by the prospect of their own new home.
I feel like this is going to be
so big for the younger generation coming up, having a goal, somewhere they can play, and like a home.
It's really nice to have like the centralized hub. You know, we can play games in, train in, we can, you know, get youth teams in, and then even like host concerts and gigs, and it just builds more you know, noise around basketball.
There's no indication yet where the stadium would be, but the Lions have the backing of the mayor, who says City Hall will lend support to find a site.
Can you offer an assurance that this new stadium would be for the entire game, not just a shiny plaything for the elites, but for the grassroots as well?
We know that kids want to play basketball. We know that there's been disinvestment in sort of private spaces for kids to make better choices. I'm about 5'9" and a little bit chubby, so I didn't make it as a basketball player, but basketball was really an important part for me. We really think basketball is a really important thing for social change, and that benefits not just the kids in the community, but the city more broadly.
If all goes to plan, the Lions hope to be shooting hoops in a new home within 3 years. Chris Slegg, BBC London.
OK, now watch this. Ouch. Residents in a Hertfordshire village say they are under siege from a hawk that started to swoop on men. There it is again. We sent eagle-eyed Wendy Hurrell to Flamstead to try and find it.
This Hertfordshire village is under siege, a silent menace in the skies. With the first signs of spring came reports of tall men being hit on the back of the head by a large bird of prey.
So I was dispatched to Flamstead along with cameraman Richard, who immediately found the marauding Harris hawk when it swooped from nowhere silently and walloped him on the back of the head. And honestly, it left him quite shocked.
This all began on March the 2nd, when Roy Lambden stepped from his front door.
Suddenly, whack on the back of my head. Had no idea where it came from. A couple of days later, I realised that my CCTV had caught the hawk diving down. Absolutely no idea what had happened. And then I saw it fly away, and it dawned on me that, yeah,
You've been hit on the back.
I've been hit on the back of the head with a hawk.
So, with my trusty binoculars, I set off in search. I'm no hawk expert, but this is unusual behaviour, not least because Harris hawks are native to South America, not here. Hertfordshire police are also on the lookout, patrolling the village, and pointed the bird out to us.
He's a big bird, Richard. There's some proper talons on that.
I can also see the jesses, leather straps tied to the feet that falconers use to tether their birds. This is an escaped, homeless hawk with a reputation.
I've lost count of how many people. I think at least 24 plus. I have no idea. Some people have been hit 3 or 4 times. It does feel like a village under siege. Everyone's going out and looking up. There's lots of emotions in the village. Yeah, there's people that think it's a bit of a laugh. There's people that are frightened to go out. There's people that are worried about their dogs.
It's thought the bird is building a nest and defending territory. Experts are working on trapping and rehoming it and ask that no one feeds it in the meantime. Wendy Hurrell, BBC London.
I told you she was eagle-eyed, and cameraman Richard as well. Now, before we head to the weather, I wanted to let you know there's still time to celebrate the heroes in your communities, ordinary people doing extraordinary things. If you know someone doing something rather special for others in their community, why not nominate them for a BBC Local Radio Make a Difference award? There's a full list of categories and details of how to nominate on our website. Just go to bbc.co.uk/make a difference, and nominations close at the end of March, so you've still got some time. And the winners will be announced at a special ceremony in September. So get nominating. Now, the sun did try to make an appearance today. Let's get more on the weather and maybe more sunshine, Corsa? Or is that wishful thinking on my part? You've already come in here saying how cold it is.
Oh, it really is, Riz. There will be a bit of sunshine, but also some showers. But, oh, my goodness, if you've been out today, you would know how cold. We're 19 Celsius on Sunday. Today, around 8 or 9 degrees. That 10-degree difference. Oh, and we really did feel it, didn't we? Good evening to you all. But we did see some some sunny spells trying to break through the cloud, but there was quite a lot of cloud still. This was a scene captured by one of our weather watchers a bit earlier today. Tower Bridge there in the background. Some bright spells, but also some showers around as well. And this is the air mass. This is what we've seen. So Sunday we had that mild weather, 19 degrees in parts of West London. Those oranges being replaced by the blues. So we're drawing in our wind direction from the north to northeast, a much colder air mass, and that's going to stay with us for the rest of the week into the weekend as well. Now, for this evening too, there will be some dry weather, but also some showers, and some of these showers could even be wintry up over the highest ground. And temperatures overnight will dip in close to freezing, maybe just below, so a chilly night to come as well. So it means for tomorrow morning, there'll be some cloud around, and it will be a chilly start. And we're expecting further showers on that north to northeasterly breeze. And again, some of these showers could be quite wintry at times up over high ground, maybe some hail in the mix. There will be some sunny spells in between, though. And temperatures tomorrow will be similar, 6 to 9 Celsius, below average for the time of year. The average is around 11 or 12 degrees. So then looking further ahead to tomorrow night too, there will be some further showers, again wintry up over high ground, some clear spells in the mix as well, a bit more in the way of cloud by the early hours. And again, temperatures down to freezing in some spots, 1 or 2 Celsius for the city. So certainly a chilly night to come. And then we do it all again on Thursday. Thursday is very similar weather, some cloud, some sunny spells, some showers, some hail in the mix of these showers, quite a breezy day with that north to northeasterly wind, and temperatures 7 to 8 Celsius. Now, as we look ahead to Friday and the weekend, though, we are going to start to see high pressure building. So that is the good news. So we've had quite a few showers around, and then we'll start to see high pressure for later on Friday and into the weekend. And this means more in the way of drier, brighter weather, more settled conditions, but we're still in that cold air mass. So temperatures won't really change, but at least we'll start to see a bit more in the way of sunshine. So here we go. To recap then, we've got some sunny spells, some showers tomorrow, cold nights to come over the next couple of nights. Some of these showers could be wintry up over the highest ground, some hail in the mix. There will be sunny spells in between, that cool north to northeasterly breeze, making it feel even cooler than some of these temperatures suggest. By the time we reach later on Friday and then into the weekend, more in the way of drier, brighter weather, some sunshine around, but I'm afraid still staying quite cool. That's your forecast.
OK, Corsa, thanks very much. A quick reminder of the main headline. Carl Clifford, the man from Enfield who raped and murdered his ex-girlfriend and killed her sister and their mother, has been told he will never be freed from jail. He shot Louise and Hannah Hunt with a crossbow and stabbed Carol Hunt at their home in Hertfordshire. And that is where we leave you. Thanks very much for being with us, but lots more on our social media and website, including, if you missed it, the London mums challenging skateboarding stereotypes and the giant eye-catching eggs that will be popping up across the capital. From me and everyone on the team, whatever you're doing, enjoy your evening. Take care. Bye-bye.